Hey everybody, welcome back to Driving with John. True trucker stories. Woo! Alright, so today's kind of a special story. You'll see why at the end. The story behind the story will warm your heart, make you happy, make you cry, all of the above. But you gotta stay to the end to find out the story behind the story. So today's story was submitted by a family member of a trucker, and it is kind of anonymous. Not using a real name or a real location, but outside of that, everything else is real, true, and kind of a great story. So from rags to riches, here we go. I am getting loaded right now, so if it starts shaking, that's what's going on. So today we're going to talk about George. George, we're going to start at the end and then go back to the beginning because that's how it makes more sense. Currently, George is an older gentleman that owns a trucking company, has around 120 trucks from what I understand, and he is nearing the age of retirement. And he's doing very, very well for himself. Him and his 4 kids live in a very nice house out in the country, and his wife live out in the country, a nice house, have nice cars. They live a very happy life. It was given to him all by trucking. So now that you know where he ended up, let's talk about the beginning of the story. So at the age of around 22, George was a non-skilled labor construction guy. Basically, just worked real hard, didn't really have a skill yet. Lived in his in-laws' basement with his wife and his first child. And it was a hard life. One day he comes home from work, and his wife meets him at the door, and she says, "Honey, we need to talk. I don't want to live with my parents anymore. I don't like living here. You don't like living here. You're just not making enough money. We need to do something different." So they had a conversation. They were looking at 2 different basic options. One she came up with, which was the military. And then while they were having the conversation, George says to his wife, my uncle owns a trucking company. Has like 10-12 trucks. Maybe I can give him a call. Maybe he can help me out. So that's what happened. They looked into the military and they looked into trucking, ended up calling his uncle. His uncle helped him through the process of getting his CDL, and gave him his first job. So he started driving a truck. Put the military on the back burner, decided to go with trucking instead. So he decided if he was going to go into trucking, he wanted to do it right. So he wanted to know as much as he possibly could know. Went through some rigorous training for the first couple of months, riding with guys, learning how to do the job, had his CDL. They were hauling basically step deck. So he worked there for the next 8.5, 9 years. Got a million miles. Was one of the top drivers in 8 or 9 years at his uncle's company, and had hit his ceiling. He was not going to make any more money. He was just going to keep making the money he was making. And he just kind of felt restless. He's like, I don't want to leave my uncle high and dry, but I also feel like I can make more money somewhere else. So he puts a feeler out through some of the contacts that he's made, because he's made some good relationships in trucking, and he gets some interest back. Another trucking company that hauls a whole different kind of freight, reefer and dry van freight. He's used a step deck. Goes ahead and sends him an offer. Like doesn't even call him first or nothing, just sends him an offer. And basically he'd be making the same money, so it'd be a lateral move, but the ceiling on how much money he could make is going to go up drastically. So he decides, he goes home and he talks to his wife, and he decides, you know what, this is a great opportunity. I'll talk to my uncle. Hopefully he's not mad at me, and I think we should do this. So remember, he's got a great record. No accidents, no incidents, no tickets, no nothing. And he's over 1 million miles. So he's a pretty valuable asset at this point for any company. So he leaves his uncle's company, and he moves on to this new company. Now it's a totally different kind of freight. It's reefer and dry van freight, and it's not, his contacts aren't really in that area. So now he has to learn a whole new niche of trucking, actually 2 of them, and get some new contacts. So he sets out, same frame of mind. I'm going to do the best thing I can do for my family, and I'm going to try to get up to that top level as quickly as possible. So for the next 14 years, he works his butt off, and he learns reaper and dry van freight inside and out. He earns all these new contacts, now he knows contacts in multi different areas of trucking. And after about 14 years, he's gone to about another 1.5 million miles. And he's like, okay, I feel like there's something more I can do. So he goes home and he talks to his wife, and they decide, they put a business plan together. They're going to go out, they're going to start their own trucking company. But he doesn't want to go out and do it, small. He decides, I'm going to go out and I'm going to build a carrier, a full-size, multi-truck carrier. And he sets out a 4-year plan to do so. So the first year he stays at the company and he works his butt off, and he hits his 2 million mile mark. And right when he hits his 2 million mile mark, he goes out and he buys a truck. Puts in all his paperwork while he's still working at the company job. Puts in all his paperwork, goes through all the process. They saved up enough money where he can go out and start on his own. About 6 or 8 months, a year later. So now we're talking, he's been with that company about 17 years. And so now he's starting his own carrier. So he puts in his 2 weeks notice. He has everything done on his truck. He starts his own carrier. And so then it's a new life for him, a new thing. Now he has all these contacts and people that he knows, and he knows other people that are running carriers and owner operators. And so he's using the knowledge that he has around him to pour into his own business. Well, in his first 2 years, he puts on 5 trucks. So he didn't even run a full year by himself, and he puts on 5 trucks. Now he has himself and 5 other company drivers. He didn't hire owner operators, he hired company drivers. And it gets to the point where he can't just be in a truck anymore. So after about 2 or 3 more years of that, he's added 10 more positions. He's up to 15 drivers. Life is doing much better now. Financially, they're doing well. He's reinvesting his money, very smart, in trucking and out of trucking. And he's just doing very, very well. So you would think this is where the story ends, but no, because if you remember at the beginning, when I told you how large his company was, he's only at 15 trucks. But we're only a couple years away from where he is now, currently. So how does this happen? Here's where the twist comes. So one day he gets a call from his uncle. And his uncle says, I want to retire. My company has about 80 trucks. And, I know that you don't do step deck, but is there a way that we could merge our companies? You can run it all. And then my portion will just be a different division of the same company. So George, he's like, that sounds like a great idea. So he meets with his uncle. They work, iron out all the ideals, all the ins and outs of the contract, and he buys his company. So now he just went from 15 trucks and 80 trucks to 95 trucks. Well, in about 1.5 years or 2 years, he adds the rest of the trucks and now has 3 divisions. He has reaper, he has dry van, and he has step deck. And he's running 125 trucks. Now, I want to say kudos to you, George. You literally started at the bottom, worked your way all the way to the top, and now you're running a full-size trucking company. This story was submitted by a family member, and they just wanted to say happy birthday. You've done a great job. As you're nearing your retirement, you have definitely done well by your family, done well by your industry, and done well by anybody that has any aspirations to go into trucking should look at you as an example of a successful story. So that's the story, guys. I appreciate you watching. George, it's not his real name, and it's not his, I'm not going to reveal the name of the company because the family member asked me not to, but his birthday is coming up in the next couple of days. Happy birthday, George. Thank you for everything that you've done for our industry in trucking. And guys, if you have a story or a loved one that you'd want to honor by telling their story on my channel, I'd be honored to do so. Submit it to drivingwithjohntoday@gmail.com. I'll even pay you $20 for the story if I use it. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. Remember one very important thing. Truckers are people too. So be nice to us. See you on the next Driving with John is coming through!